So we're going to have one person try this. So let's all, eyes and ears up here. How would you go about doing this one, ma'am? This 0.5, if you remember way back in last year, we know that 0.5 means 5 over 10. And if you reduce 5 over 10, what do you get? 1 half. So this just means to get half of 18. So what's half of 18? 9. So that's your answer. So in your head, you just think, oh, this is just 18 divided by 2. So what you're really doing is 18 divided by 2. Now, if you're really good at math, you could say, oh, I can do this. 5 times 10 is 50. 5 times 8 is 40. 15 40 is 90. 1 decimal place, 9.0, which is 9. You can do that too. But the idea is, what I was saying is, just don't do this literally. You might have to change it around. I want you to try this one. Yes. All right, we have one person over here that's trying this. Let's pay attention, please. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so basically what I did was 0.75 equals 3/4.
Oh, okay.
So basically I just did 160 divided by 4, which is 40, and then times 3.
There you go. So this right here, this means to divide by 4 and multiply by 3. So you look at this and say, ooh, I know how to divide that by 4, so I'm going to do that first. So 160 divided by 4. How many times does 4 go into 16? 4 times with a 0. And then you multiply by 3, 120. All right. So the idea was this, using what you've learned about decimals. And you say, I can't memorize that 0.75 is 3/4. Well, you don't have to memorize it. You could look back and say, you can think of it 2 ways. This is like saying 75 cents, which is 3/4. 3/4. Or you can think of that's 75 over 100. You can reduce this. So this is 75 over 100. I can reduce this. 25, it goes into both of them. 75 divided by 25 is 3. 100 divided by 25 is 4. So just turning decimals into fractions. We learned how to do this last year. And we've actually done some of it this year. So this shouldn't be unfamiliar to you. The idea now is using this stuff that you've learned so that way you don't have to do crazy math and multiply this way. 160 times 0.75, 0, 0, 3, 5, 8, 0. 6 times 7 is 42, 7, 1, 1, 0, 0, 8 and 2 is 10. Let's see, there's 2 decimal places in the problem, 2 decimal places the answer, 120. You don't need to do that. You can do that, but it's not necessary when you can use what you've learned about 0.75. You can turn that into a fraction. Now, I'm going to ask you in a problem like this, if I were to ask you to do that, what ways could you do that? Go ahead and try that out. Okay, good. So if you're unsure, just think of that as being 8 over 10. What could I do with that 8 over 10?
Reduce.
Yeah, what can I reduce it with?
4.
2. So that's 4 over 5. So what does this mean then? When you're multiplying by 0.8, you could be doing what instead? Yes, sir? Multiply by 4, then divide by 5. Now you can choose. Do you want to multiply by 4 first or divide by 5 first? It doesn't matter because when it comes to multiplying or dividing, it does not matter what order you go in. You may have been taught that. Your parents may have been taught that. They were taught wrong. Because multiplying and dividing are the same strength. You just got to remember, you're not dividing by 4. What are you dividing by?
5.
So what would you rather do first? Yes?
Divide by 5.
All right. So in your head, you could say 120 divided by 5 is 24.
Yeah.
And then 24 times 4, which is 96. So if you wanted to try it this way, like say for example, she just said this, and what if she didn't want to reduce it? So 120 times 0.8, you could say 0.8 means 8 over 10. That means to divide by 10 and multiply by what? 8. Well, what's 12 divided by 10, or 120 divided by 10?
12.
Oh, and 12 times 8
96.
is 96 also. So that's another way you could do it. So you don't have to simplify it. You're like, oh, I don't remember what it is. Well, good, you don't have to. Lovely thing is it ends in a 0, so you probably don't need to do it for that one.
1/2 is 0.5. 1/4 is 0.25. 3/4 is 0.75. 1/8 is 0.125. 1/10 is 0.1. 1/5 equals 2/10 equals 0.2. 1/50 equals 2/100 equals 0.2. 0.02.
All right, let's stop there for a second. So these two right here illustrates what I was talking about on the right over there. You can either just divide by 5, or if you want, divide by 10, then multiply by 2. It depends. Like if your number has a 0 in it, do it this way. If it doesn't have a 0 in it, just do it this way. Same thing with this guy. If your number, like if the number was 1,730, or let's say it's 1,700, and they want you to multiply it by 0.02, you could say, well, use this fraction instead, because how many zeros are here?
2.
How many zeros are here?
2. 1.
So what's
2.
what's 1,700 divided by 100? 17. And what's 17 times 2? 34. So you were just being mental there a little. Divide by 100. If you're like, I don't want to do it that way, you could divide it by 50. But if I were to divide this by 50, I don't know what 1,700 divided by 50 is. Or 170 divided by 5. I can't do that easily. So just think of it like this. Your choice. The idea is don't just do that. If you're like, I'm not sure about that, you got options. Use your options. And options are always good.